Hello, this is Jake Light, Gaming Lawyer at your service. The video you're about to see is an edited version of my streaming of The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve on Twitch. If you like what you see, consider leaving a like or comment on this video. Or subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to be the first to watch the latest content. Otherwise, if you want to catch me live and interact with me on Twitch, the link is in the description below. As always, take care, stay hopeful, but be critical. Enjoy the show. Alright, hello, we're once again back with another session of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So for today, we're not going to be, our main character is in the court apparently, but because we're in a bind right now, we don't have enough quote-unquote evidence to prove our client is innocent, so we have to rely on another duo in this game, which is Sherlock Sholmes and his partner, Susato's father. I don't know his actual name. I only heard his surname, which is Mikotoba. So we're gonna be doing another weird simultaneously doing an investigation, helping with the case. We are still in court apparently, so this is something apparently I think the entire franchise has never done. We'll see what happens, because right now Sherlock Sholmes and I'm not controlling Sherlock Sholmes, but I'm controlling his partner, who's supposed to be like Watson, Dr. Watson. But instead this is another guy, and yep, we're going to do some investigations. So without further ado, let's continue. Alright, so our mission right now is to distract our Russian fellow here so that we can get inside the room. I'm going to examine all sorts of places to find out how. Probably this one. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. Leave it alone first, okay? No, I think not. That would never work, surely. I need to concoct another distraction. That's another first-class cabin, and its door is completely unguarded. Empty as well. I had a quick look inside earlier, though I confess I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily. Hydrate! Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Rishi! Hello, welcome. Just in time for you to see me do some Ace Attorney stuff. Oof, nice water. How's your day? Let me give you a short shout out. Okay. Oh, you were playing Overwatch too? How was that game? I heard you've been carried or something. Yeah, so, how are you finding that game? Was it fun? Do you have a favorite character, favorite hero now that you like to play? If you're referring to Naruto, you know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court. Does it not strike you though, Mikotoba? Why the man stands guard only in front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant? And what's this? Ah, the switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewmen wouldn't be able to see what we are doing. Leave it alone first. I'm gonna explore everything. That's the way back to the deck, but we certainly can't give up on this now. Okay. What's this? That's a speaking tube for members of the crew to communicate with another around the ship. If I could just persuade our stocky sailor friend that he needed to use it. Sholmes could unlock the door whilst he was distracted. The question is, How? I'm just chilling at home. Yes, I'm being carried and being dragging my friends down, I see. Mostly playing supports such as Moira or Mercy now. I see, I see. Well, it's a good start. It's a good start. Moira and Mercy are like the most popular supports you can use and the easiest ones that you can use. But then again, easy to use doesn't mean it's easy to master, because those characters can be very, very good depending on how you lean on to their specific strengths. But yes, hopefully you have be playing it more, because and if you do need someone to play with, I am always available. Probably will be available, because at the time you stream is going to be the time I don't really normally stream, and I always leave those times for doing something else or collaborating with other people. Alright, I think I've explored all the things except for the mousetrap. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. I don't think he'll be distracted by that. What was this again? Electrical lights. We can try. I'll try everything. Ugh! What is happening? Where is light? Now, Sholmes, now! Thud. Thump. I saw your Reinhardt gameplay, so OP. Oh, you did? Well, sometimes it's easy depending on, the support I have. If the support is great, then everything will run very smoothly. Also, very dependent on if the DPS does the things as well. Nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite a knack you have, stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor. Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach. Okay, do this. Let's ring it. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff. Report at once. Sorry, sir. Nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me. By world famous... No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now. Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotova. In we go. Oh, yes. Oh, so that was easy. SS Grouse. First class cabin number 2. Oh, this is so familiar. So familiar. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. That's a lot of clothes. Those clothes on the floor there. They are Seishiro's, without question. Well, it seems we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may, which makes this all the more thrilling. Alright, let's look at the obvious plates. Quite an exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it's Is something wrong, Shobes? You suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mikotoba, ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy! Chilled drinks. Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. Wait, what? I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know? Alright, this is a really big clue. Alright. If anyone doesn't know, it's okay. It's okay. We'll find out sooner or later. There's a speaking tube here. Look. Though it's been stopped with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed, so that voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. That's really becoming a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? Yep, snakes in the ship. What's in the waste paper basket? This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside. Indeed, and let us pry. I've discovered that recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London then. When I was still aboard myself. Okay, evacuation drill notice 31st October. Ah yes, there was an evacuation drill, I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers was constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. The night before the ship arrived in Dover, it was found in Judge Shikoku's cabin. It was crumpled inside a basket for some reason. We'll look into that one right now. Oops, not this. Present? Oh, I can't even look at the stuff. I'm gonna look in the wardrobe. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe. Indeed he was. It was of a similar size to this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the sight of my first fatal meeting with Miss Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now. If in you go, this will only take a moment. Really, Sholmes? Surely you can just tell me what you said. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read about it in the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. Okay, so nothing about the wardrobe. What about this? These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are so strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases. Okay, I think that's an extra rule. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they are not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikotoba, there's nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. Okay, let's look at the bag. The luggage. There's a very sizable trunk indeed. Seishiro is partial to all things large. and a rather clumsy fellow. If he failed to notice he'd left that behind, perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Alright, I guess we're gonna find a clue as to what that is. Also, why is it? There's a mark over here. Well, you've guessed it, we've all guessed it. It's probably because of that. It's something is supposed to be there and now it's covering something else, right? The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Like, oh no! You are still here! Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganoff. Hello again. I was beginning to think you never materialize. You are waiting for me? Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of a trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. Yes, chicken Stroganoff. It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow, but first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi? What is Kakoi? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jikoku has not yet left his vessel at all. Ah! And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes, you mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. Why are you so excited though? What is this? We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jikoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. Duh, that is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba, and please do take the lead. Oh, this time I don't get a hint? What in this cabin shows the possibility of Jikoku? Okay, I didn't get to read all of it. Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has. Quite. Now, all the clues are in here, this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe and the answers become clear. So, impress me. I think I can manage that. Shows the impossibility of Jukoku having disembarked 2 hours ago. I think it's this. What? Mikotova can tap dance, apparently. Perhaps you should have to clear the wet dead glass. How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your minds off the refreshment, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed me of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Seishiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that this first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jukoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? Ah, that's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Seishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Miss Jukoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. Ah, this is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure you have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here. That's the key to this, Mikoto. That's the keys to this, Mikotova. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotova. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. This.
Take that!
Very funny. It's the rules of passage in the frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crook on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over there. The same shape and size are a perfect match. You're right. When did the frame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain's quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Grrr. Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotova, why don't you leave that frame off the wall? Oh! Uh-oh. Jukoku, what are you... Why is there a hole in your wall? That looks like a bullet hole. Oh, it's a bullet hole. Oh. I was thinking of something else. Anyways. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see. The projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. Ugh! I have the distinct impression that attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try? Why would I try to protect Eastern stranger? I'm racist, you know. I only protect Russian strangers. Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Ugh. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep us. This pretense is clearly shown by... We don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. Ah, my dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. For the motherland, I guess. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it. So I'm to declare the fellow from all sides. Well, I can certainly do that. I'm gonna say it's... Ooh, what's this?
Take that!
Money. You were bribed. It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money. Ugh! And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jikoku. Yes. Ugh! So, I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And where you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mrs. Roganov. You know where Mr. Jikoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found a chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, immediately delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. Okay, I guess it's the trunk.
Take that!
Tap, tap, tap. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Ah! The truth is, Seishiro Jikoku was unable to escape from the ship in time. Say a number between 1 to 10. Wait, what? What? I don't understand. And is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside his trunk. Seishiro is inside the trunk? I hope he's not dead, though. If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting that about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. Well, I think we know. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jikoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. We did then randomize the seed, so 1 to 10. Randomize the seed? You want me to say a number between 1 to 10? 7. Lucky number 7. Give me lucky number 7. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. No, I know nothing about combinations codes. Clearly, it's not written on my arm right now that I'm showing you. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Haha, seaman. Huh? Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? How on earth do you expect me? Oh, okay, thank you. Hope this will be nice. Wait, what? Oh, okay, now I understand what you mean by seed. It's a 7-digit number. It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have little time. So I'm assuming it's 5... Wait, what's that number? 6? No, the 6 is not like written like that, right? I have no idea what that is. The third number is 3, then it's 1, then 0, 4, 5. Right, so I guess it's 3. That's probably 3 then. If you have, wait, no. Shows. It's number 6. Probably 6. Inverted 6 or something. Or 9. No, it can't be 9. I have no idea. Playing Terraria, I see. Oh shit, I really need to... Alright, I think it's 5. 5 bubble at the end. So it's Shomes, but backwards. So Shomes is 4. S-H-O-M is 3. S-H-O-M. Wait. S-H-O-L. So it is 1. There's 3. Shom. So this is either 6 or 9. Wait, there's no 6. Oh, there's only... So what could it be? Number 2?
Take that!
I'm correct. I'm correct. I'm correct. Is it 2? The second one, as it looked like the old way of writing 2. Ah, yes. You're right, Doctor. Very clever. So apparently there's a code, digicode for only 5 numbers. That did it. It's open. You had to... Wait, who is this? If it's Jikoku, it would be... You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugene, you found me now. Seishiro. Man, you're a really big person. How did you fit in there? I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely surprised, I take it. Why is the first judge from first trial? There. Well, it's complicated, but you just assume he is... he's supposed to be here. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jikoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. Also love the beard. Yeah, the beard's pretty cool. Very cool. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all now, by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an event An attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper or the Bailey. Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. What is this? It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available. I purchased a ticket here, and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking the cabin and seeing evidence, is that it? Eugene, I've nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Seishiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugene. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Jones? Inside Mr. Jikoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Seishiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I've no idea. But look on his face. I think he generally doesn't know. Well, let's pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Okay. I need to look at it though, when I have the chance. Well, young Naruto, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistants. Alright, we're going back to the court. Start shouting at each other now. The Old Bailey courtroom, 3rd November, 12:10 p.m. Kazuma Asogi, I know you and lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jikoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept our unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for the immediate verdict. No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Rinosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony, and there can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness, from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of the testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is... Man, it's been some time. The witness is already on his way. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Seishiro Jikoku, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jikoku, you found him? But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jikoku is already dead. How in the name of the god did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jikoku on the night of his death, because along with Mrs. Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Seishiro Jikoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st October. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move the adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jikoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. Well, that's kind of anticlimactic. I thought there was going to be more court shenanigans. No objections from either side. No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. To be continued. Well, oh, that was short, but we'll be continuing playing it. We'll continue playing it. It's only been like what, less than even an hour. All right. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. November 3rd, 8 p.m. Sholmes Suite. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor Asogi had you on the ropes, did he? And is your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruto. I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertained the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. Well, all this started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sherm still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. But, well, it is another story, Mrs. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Shikoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Oh, Professor Mikutoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already? I put it on you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent though, Mrs. Sholmes? Such matters can be done till later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present.
Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone.
Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I think the trial would go on already. Oh yeah, I only noticed now there's like a huge, probably turkey on the table. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be only one set, with a helping of pheasant as well. Also, it's a pheasant, not turkey.
Oh, sorry, honey, not there.
Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
For me?
That's right. I mean, especially for you, Professor Mickey.
Okay, that's very cute. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
It's a she, really.
What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean.
Oh. Iris, do you mean...
Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened to the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left.
What? Whoa! The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikutoba are Iris's father. Okay, so who's Iris's father? Don't tell me it's Jones? I don't think so. Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I
know. You can't tell me at the moment.
Oh, Iris.
The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no. That's quite alright. Why don't I get an apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. I'm going to be assuming it's Sholmes. Or someone with pink hair, but so far we haven't ever met anyone that has pink hair. So then, let us dine. While largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, about Kazuma. Can't let this opportunity slip away. Oh my god, I have to go around and talk to people. That is troublesome. Also, I need to check what. Yeah, with this thing. What's this? You see this little thing? You see these little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part of the top of a pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. A watch would be quite useless without one. The crown, like what sits on top of a monarch's head, is a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually, yes, Mr. Naruto, if this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Alright, so I'm assuming this is connected with the stopwatch, maybe? Following departure from Port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures. The drill will take 20 minutes. Crew to resume duties as soon as the drill is over. So yeah, so this could be the time where the assassination happened, because nobody is watching the rooms. Yeah, could I examine this again? There's a crown here, right? This is the so-called crown. What do you think, Mr. Sato? I feel sure I knew exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. We're about to see that the little round component is actually a part of Inspector Greggson's broken pocket watch. Really? I was just thinking precisely that too. Kuchonk? Ooh. A perfect fit. I knew it. Alright, perhaps you knew it. I'll make a note of this new information at once. One machine part of it. It's now clear that it's the missing crown of Inspector Gregson's pocket watch. Okay, so that's it, I guess. I don't think there's anything else we can examine, so yeah. We'll talk to, I guess, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Ah.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss something with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt. You're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. Please leave. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this. I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi / A. Shin T. Gregson / J. Wilson. Nani? What? There's 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before.
Posture check. Hydrate.
Oh! Ooh. Arion, you tried to do the hold it, but it didn't make a sound. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry though. I don't want to be scared. Also the sound. Yeah, the sound. But thank you. Okay. Also welcome back, Arion. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be a unmasking, monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. Keasogi, Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Chikoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You ask Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? I wonder what guys he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand? Anyway, the list of names was found in Seisho's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was sent to Judge Chikoku? He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. Oh no, Chikoku is part of the Reaper organization? But that doesn't answer the question of what list of names actually signifies. Well, it could signify there are lists of people within the organization. I did formulate a hypothesis about that, but without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Alright, I'm gonna look at that immediately. Record found as indicated. Duplicate fellows. Yes, so this was informed by Hosonaga. So the slash could mean and, or it could mean or. Right? Keasogi could be a Shin, the actual assassin. T. Gregson could be the mastermind behind everything. Or mastermind behind everything as well as pretending to be J. Wilson. Or the other theory would be that there are 4 people involved in the Reaper organization. One being J. Wilson, which is the one who died in the first game, and Ashin, who died in the first case of this second sequel. First sequel. There's only one sequel, sorry. Then T. Gregson, the other assassins. So 2 of the assassins are, I guess, but doesn't make sense though. If these are all 4 people in the same organization, right? I'm guessing this is really I have no idea. I can't really connect the dots yet. It's all just speculations right now. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria, it was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We're completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Mr. Sato. And then I made sure that somebody else was sent to the Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean? The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores, several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that was all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Miss Naruto. Was there somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage of England? The terms of this study tour, man, it's been a long time since I voiced Hasenaga. The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Miss Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems may have an extremely simple solution. You know? All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So you manipulated me. I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived, I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted unfortunate soul in finding a foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Mr. Sato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh. An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events, where it existed a year ago, is close at hand. Why am I repeating all this in my mind? We need to find out exactly what Mrs. Sholmes knows. I need to present something to you. What would that be? A year ago. You want me to present this? I don't think so. Unless there's someone else I can talk to. Nope, nobody else I can talk to. And I don't think I can move anywhere, so... Yep, I need to present something to our guy here. Is this something that's happened a year ago? No, I don't think so. This is... I'm stumped. What could be the thing? I have no idea. It's not this, it's not this, not this, not this. Surely not this as well. There's something else I have not really talked to about. I don't think this is relevant anymore. Letter introductions aren't relevant anymore. Photograph Mr. Pidgeot. I don't think this is relevant as well. Harsh reprimanding could I This? No, this is not a year ago. Passport? No. Picture? No. Passport? No. 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 This one? No, not this thing. Don't care about pheasant. Telegram. You know what? I'm gonna just look. I'm gonna look. Don't want to waste people's time, you know. Present? Oh, really? You want me to present this? There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mrs. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Chukuku's office that should be researched, so you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asogi / A. Shin T. Craxton / J. Wilson. We only learned of these 4 names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes, but at the time you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you're both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting the state secrets, because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Sherlock Holmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Holmes, what a fabulous line. Now, 1 month after that list of forenames was wired to the recipient Jukoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of this incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Holmes, please tell us all you know. Tell us all about these four names and the tragedy to which they are all somehow connected. No, I won't tell you. Oh, you will tell me? As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those four names because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? Shin. That was his transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asashin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among Londoners' unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed, and accordingly I became fearful for the lives of the remaining two persons on the list. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. So that's why you went to such lengths to prevent this study tour from going all ahead. Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I'd recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know.
Oh, Iris, we didn't know you were still here.
I knew he wasn't my daddy, but still, that's very sad.
I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you.
No.
But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah yes, you mean about Asashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Bratt. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I formed surrounding those four names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Jones? I believe all four names on the list to be names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asashin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed. It will seem that Miss Sheen was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. which would of course explain why no motive could be determined from her actions. So the real reason that Dr. Wilson was killed by assassin is because he was the target of an assassination. And for armed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts this in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Don't tell me. Well, does it not strike you there's another among the four who subsequently became a visiting student? Wait, you mean? But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh, he did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got himself involved in something like that? Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So, to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills a target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruto, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries, so the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular, devilish scheme. This association, the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Jones. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins you are suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jikoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Jikoku wasn't actually the Mark? Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes, could Judge Jikoku be the mastermind of all this? We'll see. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position, obviously, with this young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd be transferring to Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems, and sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. Oh boy.
Alright everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it early? I mean, look at the time.
Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. I don't think I will be killed though, right? This certainly has been something. This has certainly been a night to remember.
It is a little bit sad, though.
Hmm?
I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister.
I'm so sorry, Iris. You could, make some sort of a pact, a promise, a blood oath, or something. Then you don't have to necessarily be blood related to be your sister. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing.
Were you?
But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister.
What? Really?
Oh yes, without question.
So, you teach me all the ways you know to roll Runo to the floor?
Yes, of course.
It would be my pleasure.
You didn't have to agree quite so readily.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. You must always be mindful of feelings. I've read you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally.
Right. I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now because it's for my big brother and sister.
What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what?
Hee hee. You just have to wait and see.
Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trials proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths by opposing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on Telegram in Judge Shikoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow became involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an ever greater darkness of all of a sudden. At the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. I believe I do have my own family, right? My parents or whatever siblings or relatives I have is still alive in Japan. I just never really mentioned them. To be continued. Should we stop here? Nah, let's do a bit more. Let's do a bit more, alright? Alright. November, 9:30 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Well, I see. I'll do it. I'll continue, but I'll be going on a short break, just like 5 minutes, like that. And I'll be back. So, BRB, all right, BRB. All right, I am back again. Over. All right. So let's continue. Oops. Wait for a moment. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, Some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve? Yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire. The defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asugi permitted to continue his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with a victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of a freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. With my whole life for the last 10 years, it's all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we are heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I've granted this prosecutor's request. The defense find is acceptable, I presume. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Baroque van Ziggs. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well, then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asugi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jukoku into the courtroom. At last end, we've reached the final battle. He's putting in literally everything on the line now in order to get the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that silly resolve. Because this is going to test it to the limit. Sounds very serious. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Huh. So it was you who issued this, was it?
Your subpoena, I did what was necessary.
Ha 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 ha. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say.
The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked.
My name is Seishiro Jikoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan.
16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I'm of course fully aware of Mr. Jikoku and his preeminent roles.
I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country.
I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put all into that treaty.
Judge Jikoku, I must ask.
Well, I never fancied a young murdering student turning up here of all places.
You acquitted me as yourself. And now I'm a practicing defense lawyer.
Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see.
You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France.
Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase.
Explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances?
Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment.
What?
Leaving the country prematurely was when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify.
Unrelated, you say?
I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that.
So you run from all this?
I beg your pardon?
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right. And you, Judge Jikoku, are at the very heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Let's see your evidence then. What proof do we have that Seishio Jikoku is involved in this case? Immediately, okay. This.
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson.
You little... Where did you get that?
In Tokyo, from your office, Judge Jikoku.
What? How on earth did you?
What's this all about? Why's my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi and K. Ashin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western Sour restaurant at the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Bratt. But her real name was Asashin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. Ashin and a victim, J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was a counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting?
These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan. were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram that defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? What? Telegram was found in your office, Judge Jikoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. Judge Jikoku? What's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Shikoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jikoku was the mark came entirely from you. Okay. You deliberately avoided saying a name? But then, you know, you're not admitting that you killed Gregson, though. The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jikoku, what do you have to say for yourself? Nothing? His silence only goes to prove his guilt. I don't think that's how it works. But then, yeah, it will affect his credibility. That he has no... His statement was really just, this case has no relation to me. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in a witness's cabin aboard the SS Kraus. Judge Jikoku, you have to testify now. The refuse will put you in contempt of court.
Ha 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 ha. There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know.
Seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about alleged assassin exchange and events of the night of the 31st October. Present your formal testimony now.
As you wish, my lord.
Hey, Redacted Red! Hello, hello! Welcome to my Grade A's attorney session. How are you? Doing good? Hope my voice acting is good enough. Assassin exchange.
It's true that Kazuma Sugi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved.
So admit it then, as this communication suggests. There really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan.
A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as a foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder? It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Sogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know.
What?
Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
This is a weird trial. A really, really weird trial. Kazuma-sama? Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain.
I'm not obliged to divulge that information.
As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission on the night the plan was to be executed. I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk, because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it.
That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in a room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Baroque von Zix. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and a high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute.
Well, I seem to recall that it was someone at the British side who controlled everything.
Be that as it may, it's not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel? Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. I mean, I already have evidence in mind to present, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna let me do that immediately. Or are they? Remember, because on at all times. I mean, let's just press this, right? Outside your cabin in the first class area of the SS grounds, you mean?
Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in this year, I imagine. The line operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door.
I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night. I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman setting guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin.
At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner.
The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Shikoku's return. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as a Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman let two potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding. Not the most convincing of sentries, really. In truth, those were my thoughts too. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. And then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went out? Yes. He glared at me and as I walked past.
You see? That proves it.
It's contradictory though. But you know what? I'm not going to waste people's time. I'm assuming it's going to be that crumpled thing that was found in the wastebasket. But I'm pretty sure it's either this statement or the last statement I have to present it. So I'm going to look at it now. Same of 4 or 5. Oh, okay. I could do that, apparently. I didn't know it was so generous.
Objection!
Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Goku's cabin. However, we can be sure that contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard a steamship on the 31st.
What? Where did you get that?
It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember.
Herlock Sholmes again? Herlock Sholmes again?
According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were together on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts. And during a 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Shikoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Also, I think... Yes, it's all connecting now. The gun especially. The gun. Anyhow, let's continue.
Ugh. Ugh.
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture.
Very true.
Well, counsel. As a matter of fact, I do have evidence. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Shikoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. I just said that. You will present the evidence for that defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Shikoku's cabin on the 31st October? I'm going to say... this. Oh wait, this. Right, I'm gonna assume this, but let's see what if it's really this one, because this was found inside the cabins. Yes.
Take that!
Judge Shikoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday.
What is that?
The crown of a pocket watch.
A pocket watch?
And if you observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we all know he treasured, is missing precisely that part.
It can't be.
Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Shikoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there.
Grrr.
In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Shikoku.
Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer?
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible at first. But rather, like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Shikoku feels the same way.
I was wrong to acquit you early in the year.
Sorry?
If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world of your ridiculous bombast.
This judge is really Jikoku. I think
it's clear that a witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony. But what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October? Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice.
Man, this judge is lying through his teeth. Or through his beard, in this case.
I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an iponse or throw. He couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. He has nothing to do with this murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London. Iponse oi? A common jiu-jitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take.
So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness cabin in no way proves the victim's murder took place there.
I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger.
I'm sorry, that's a really a big lie. There is a gunshot bullet hole in the wall of the cabin.
Yes, because he was merely a tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord.
If this testimony holds, Judge Chikuru will be deemed to have had no involvement in the case.
Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination that involves a lot of very important individuals.
Yes, we'll just ignore this one, alright? Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that.
You're an embarrassment to your countrymen. You're not knowing when you're beaten. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo.
It's getting hot. It's getting tense. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finished my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. Soon took care of him with my iponse throw, though he couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. His body was found in London. I'm going to press a few of them. then press this. Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson.
Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name, and there was no time for introductions. I value my life more than manners.
By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose.
That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before.
Believe it or not, most of us haven't.
Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself.
Okay.
Hold it!
Even though the man had a gun, that was a very brave move, wasn't it?
My E-10 is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you.
But surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it?
Yes, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at a stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make him escape.
The outstanding guard does it again.
Luckily, there aren't many situations I can't get out of using a quick E-10 or throw.
Hold it!
The crown snap off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked.
Preferably to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say?
Not that the man was spared for long, a bullet to the chest soon saw the dead. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place.
Absolutely not. All the watch proves is the power of my jujutsu throw.
Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall.
What are you talking about? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin.
I'm gonna question all this, alright? Just press everything. Then I'll decide if I have anything with me that I can present. Because the so-called guard who was at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean?
Apparently Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course.
You wouldn't have had his identification with him, though.
He had his trench coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced.
But the man accompanying him would have had 2 swords slung around his waist. You mean me? Who else?
Yes, that's true. You would have hoped the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head.
The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked at the ship.
Certainly, all I can tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back at my cabin. And you entered without any inkling of suspicion. That's right, none whatsoever.
Man, I really wish this judge was a good guy, but apparently not. Okay, last one's final statement. I have not pressed. I'm gonna press. As there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive.
Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling.
What?
If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have gone back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at the same spot. It's a devil of a thing.
Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body.
How exactly? Carrying the corpse of a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think?
Well, yes, that's true, but...
All passenger luggage is inspected when it's unloaded from arriving vessels, and I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain.
Ugh. Kill that idea then.
But perhaps not.
Mr. Sato?
We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea.
Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative.
Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd be perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony, with your consent, of course, my lord. I've no objection. State your amended testimony now.
Right, so this is the thing I've been waiting. Yes, you do. This Gregson's trunk.
Objection!
Oh no, not this one!
Ah, okay, so let me check. Bloody hell, okay. So it's not this one. It's something else, but it's not exactly... Man, this is very sneaky. Bloody hell, this game. Okay. I know now. It's very sneaky of you.
Objection!
There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Far from being impossible for you to do. The transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you can do. What are you talking about, Rinosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Juku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched from when he enters the country. Wait, what? We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Oh man, that's... Maybe that's just like a sentence? How would I have figured that out? Well, I remember that. If I play this game like after a month, which technically it is kind of like that, I would never remember this. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you?
Ah, I knew you were jealous. Oh.
Yes, that few statements exchange is the clue I needed? Bloody hell. Sorry, apologies. I'll get back to this now. I presume you recall this, Judge Chukoku? Oh my god, is Gregson in that suitcase at that moment in time? It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel marked the occasion. As the court will note, you have with your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside.
Mr. Naruto, surely you're not suggesting...
I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Chikoku's trunk.
Order in the court. I'm a skeptical counsel that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk.
It could. Because I happen to know
that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Shigoku? But inside his trunk? How horrifying. After we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in the cab to deposit the inspector's body.
I don't have to listen to this nonsense.
Dr. Gori, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator.
Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between.
Yes, I'm sure they are, but one place they are certainly found is on large ocean liners.
Huh?
Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages, and SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Shigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer.
Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asugi and you embark on this story tour.
What are you talking about now?
Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Shigoku, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. Defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond?
Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there?
Why ever not?
Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical.
Actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard, as the accused Barrett Van Zix shot the victim at the point-blank range. Man, that assertion is getting less and less sound. Kazuma, please stop saying that. I don't feel I don't feel there's any weight behind that anymore.
Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid it's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling.
The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here.
How can you say that?
Quite simply, because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession.
Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you?
The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene of Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim.
The autopsy? I guess not. Scorch marks at point entry will mix the body from behind. This evidence says it's instant. Glimpse autopsy? I don't think that's it. this. I could say it's Gregson's pocket watch, because that's the thing that if let's say he immediately died, the clock would be still ticking when you found the body. When we found the body, right? Autopsy says instant death. I don't think anything else really says much. Even with this one, where there is blood on this one, but apparently it was recovered. Doesn't say anything about where it was recovered. Right? It just said it was removed from the scene. I'm assuming it's going to be the clock, the stopwatch, the pocket watch. Let me check. Apparently not. Apparently not. This is the thing. Photograph inspector. His body appears to be tightly curled up, and there's a red piece, headpiece on his head. Alright, I'm gonna try. I have absolutely no idea why. A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed. Yes. But the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. It's very far-fetched though. That's a very far-fetched claim, but okay.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. You could easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Protection.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jikoku, but it's your logic that is flawed.
What?
According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position.
Oh!
Man, contradicting there and there, and this is really. I mean, how would you exactly know what's instant death is? I mean, what's defined in instant death? Like immediately you get shot, or after you get shot, there's like a few seconds gap or time period before you die. Because if within a few seconds, you definitely can still, your body is still functioning. It's just maybe your heart is not functioning. You don't immediately, instantly die. So this is like kind of not making sense. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now.
You're suggesting...
The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk. No, you're quite right. The shape of the body, it looks as if it had been kept in a confined space. I guess when you look at it again, it looks like the body is like scrunched up. Judge Jikoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood.
Ugh. Present my trunk? I refuse.
Well, you can't really refuse. What? On what grounds?
I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations.
In other words, Judge Jikoku, there's blood in your trunk.
Well, maybe. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I've privileged...
At this moment, you're not a government minister. You're a witness in a trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not without information.
Nothing is more important than the truth. Ugh. Ugh. Order. Order in court. Well, Mr. Jukoku, what is it to be?
You can't be serious. You did it?
Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asugi?
What?
Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country.
Hydrate.
Oh, thank you for the hydrate.
Stretch.
Oh, and the stretch.
Thank you for that, doctor.
Ah.
Ugh. My shoulders are pretty stiff. Very stiff. Seems like the season 2 trailer dropped for Overwatch. Oh, you mean the... Wait. The actual... What do you mean? What's going to be next? Greek god theme. You are talking about skins. The skins that are going to be available for the battle pass that no one is gonna get. Well, no one with no money, of course, and with some logical, rational thinking. Do not get into that. Official trailer of season 2. Nice. Well, I'll check it out myself later.
Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense.
What? You?
Dear God, outrageous.
So it was you?
No, I admit to know nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection.
What on earth is this cryptic statement supposed to mean?
I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else.
Well, why, with this statement, it's very clear that our accused is not the killer anymore. Drop me into Overwatch channel. Alright, I'll check it. Thank you, doctor. You can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man?
As you know, there was the one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted the mission to take the inspector's life.
Oh.
That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asugi.
Uh-oh. You. They're fighting each other now.
I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishu Jikoku.
You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asugi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin a crime on me, did you?
Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness cabin on the night in question.
Yes, on an assassination mission, no less.
You weren't.
So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and it's all I have to say on that matter. I'll admit to nothing more.
I don't believe this.
Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asugi.
This isn't and it seems to be. Answer's right in front of me. Comes down to Jikoku or Kozuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson. Only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Chikoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asuke is impossible. Judge Chikoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claim that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process.
It is, no question.
Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asuke to commit the crime.
What? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is that at least demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asuke's involvement? I am going to say... it's Gregson's trunk this time, but I could be wrong. Right, I'm gonna check the answer. Oh, no, it's not. Apparently it's the evacuation. Okay, but why? Why?
Take that!
This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord, this is conclusive proof.
An itinerary? For how does that prove anything?
Judge Chikoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant.
What? Why?
On the night in question, as always, a crewman's sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that a guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime has taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary.
Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far.
But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship has already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Now, clearly the murder could have only been committed by someone who was aboard the vessel at the time. The prosecutor Asuke stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent the night at a boarding house in town and we returned to England the following morning. I mean, you could actually get people to vouch for your alibi, you know, rather than using this convoluted evidence to prove you were in the steamship, which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Asuke couldn't possibly have carried out that killing.
Hold it! No, absolutely not. I don't accept it at all.
What do you mean?
The boy's just saying it to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby in the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back in.
No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof. Yes, it is much more the proof that we're looking for.
Ugh, no,
There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Brinton. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jikoku?
It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Oof. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already.
What is happening? Oh my god.
It's over. My life is over.
I thought he had some supernatural power just of a sec. A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands.
The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand.
And for that you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain, and you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Kazuma's place.
And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that.
The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume?
That's right. I decided it would be the safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. I enlisted the help of my British counterpart and made arrangements by pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper.
What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah. So, that means that the assassin exchange was planned all by the Reaper.
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on a steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death.
Oh, how awful.
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him the time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at the for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion. I bided my time, waiting.
For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock.
I intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. Bang! I'd received a British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. Never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that.
So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS grounds, which begs the question of why you arranged for this body to be discovered in a room on Fresno Street.
The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it out over to the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. But before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room.
And then on arriving on Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past border police.
I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London.
In that case, you must have known. You must have intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule.
Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that would mean that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body sewn in my trunk.
That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then.
Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. Was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers.
Miss Venus, of course.
I conceived of the candle trick there and then, so I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate the gunshots.
What sort of disguise?
For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case, so I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself than that I would have otherwise.
The hairpiece we found at the scene. Inspector had it ready for the red-headed leak investigation.
I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder.
What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
I didn't notice that it had fallen out of its overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but, well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything, all the sordid details of what I did.
I feel like this is not the end though.
I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty.
An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jikoku, one last detail. Who is your counterpart in Britain? Who is the mastermind behind the Assassin's Exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Well, I might die.
Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say.
Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again, and, well, the other thing is, you might not have any chance to leave anymore. You're gonna get, executed. Look at where we are right now in the timeline. Pretty sure the punishment for murder is, death.
What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson.
How? Magic? You know, this isn't exactly a trial for Seishiro Jigoku. I mean, he admitted everything, but you can't just sentence him, you know. Convict him.
Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession admitting to the third murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Which, there's no... Yep, this is the reverse of most court systems, where you're guilty until proven innocent.
Oh, wonderful. Well done, Miss Naruhodo.
Yes, thank you.
Is something wrong?
I'm just a little troubled by his silence.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought in against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barak van Zix.
Objection!
Kazuma.
The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed.
Nevertheless, Barak van Zix has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku, but it's clear from the witness testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot, into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that will appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barak van Zix, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What?
So this is part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Order, order, order! The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery. Counsel, are you suggesting you have some new information which to build the case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zix very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps the circumstances have now changed.
What do you mean?
It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means
We now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say, I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zix. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. You'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zix unwittingly started 10 years ago.
Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular. Well, the entire trial all the while right now, from the beginning, is always irregular. I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with Reaper and the Assassin Exchange.
I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely.
I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing.
Okay. Oh man.
Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verified its foul and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice.
Lord Van Zix.
I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations once and for all. Good.
And let justice decide, Lord Van Zix.
The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey.
But what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous, and Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this. And I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as his friend.
Thanks for reading.
Oh! Thank you for the raid, dear Z! Let me give you a shout out! You were playing Fall Guys, as usual, I see. Also, hello, Tui. Hey, it's the twerking, twerking emote. Well, there's a lot of twerking emotes. Hello. How was your game? Was it good? Hope it was good. It's always good to play Fall Guys. Night routine usual, yes. I'm guessing you're winding down and you're like getting ready for bed. But yes, welcome everyone. I'm Jake Light, gaming lawyer to service. I'm a real life lawyer as well. Ooh, thank you for the follow, Elena. I'm a real life lawyer as well. So if you have any legal questions you want to ask, feel free to do so, right? I'm a variety. Thank you for the follow as well, Tuyi. I'm a variety content creator. I make both videos as well as stream, but most of the time I'm just streaming. So yeah, variety in the sense of everything really. I do this kind of gameplay, let's plays as well. I also do art. I do some live seminar. Tomorrow it's actually another, it's going to be a live seminar where we could be talking about Discord's community guidelines. So very interesting. Then yes, I play a whole bunch of all different kinds of games and such. And yes, for now, today I'm playing Ace Attorney and doing all sorts of weird voices. But I think we're almost nearing the end of the game now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to tune out. I'll understand, right? You can come back when I'm not playing this game. But yes, I might be considering finishing it. I might be finishing this game now. We're like really at the end now. Hopefully there's not much not much more. Wait, what? 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 Who gave it? Who gave? Thank you, stranger, for gifting us up to Audacity. But yes, there's surprise. Anyhow, I hope anyone is still here. If you are going to be resting soon, yes, please do go and rest. You know, probably late. I'm pretty sure Audacity is from United States, right? And I'm from the other side. I'm from Malaysia, if anyone doesn't know. So over here it's like evening time. So yeah. Do get your rest, do all the things necessary to chill, relax, and yeah. So without further ado, I'll continue with the, you know, voice acting and learning what's going to finally happen. The last mystery to solve, I guess. To resolve. Yeah. Anyhow, let's move on. And so what? Okay, then that's what we must do. The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well, defendant. You will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. As you wish, my lord. Oh no, I'm gonna do Barak Van Zig's voice. I hope I feel like I have lost his voice for some reason. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. Yeah. Congratulations for the sub. Now you can use also my weird emotes now. The point is, no common thread exists between myself and Gregson and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. Well, there is. Unfortunately, I do have the evidence to link you all together. So you deny all accusations by the prosecution. The very nice emotes. Both that you are the Reaper of Bailey and that you masterminded assassin exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe to be the Reaper. However, there's a fallacy which I alone am in no position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Man, there's a lot of characters within the husky range that I'm doing a voice now, so it's gonna kill my throat if they keep talking. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? A desire to uncover the truth, even if the truth proves your client to be guilty. From all my experience in the courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. the contradiction you're convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Right. Let's see. Never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Rexon's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Rexon, and Dr. Wilson. I'm not sure if I have to press this, but I think that's the statement I have to present some sort of evidence. This one. So I'm gonna assume it's this evidence I'm going to present, but I might be wrong, right? So this is Barrett Van Zix, this is his brother, and this is the inspector that is dead. So with this picture itself, we can say there is a common thread. So, but the thing with Ace Attorney games is like it's very convoluted. You're not sure if this picture can be direct evidence to contradict this statement. So I'm not going to waste people's time by failing and then failing and trying again. Just going to see what the answer is. Okay, and the answer is no, it's not this apparently, but it's the statement, the right statement, but apparently not this one. But still quite related though. Damn it. It's this, the autopsy, apparently. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, that's the brother. Why is it related to bias? I guess, yeah, the autopsy was first spearheaded by the inspector. So I guess you can say, yeah, that's much more better evidence to choose. Anyhow, what is this? An autopsy report. Wait, this is 10 years old, from the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zix. What? My brother's autopsy... Wait, sorry. What? My brother's autopsy report. I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from undeniable truth. Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report to your counsel? This, the autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Yeah, this is better evidence. My bad. Not that accursed name again, the professor. I personally researched all of the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zix, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that he be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure. And it was the Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document. Oh no, it's connecting everything now. But the Clint's case, it involved Dr. H. Wilson and involved Tobias Gregson. Both are dead now. Interesting. As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zix here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court.
A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death? That's outrageous. That's outrageous. And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silent, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan, in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange.
That sounds plausible.
Order at once. 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. It was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it. Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost. You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer.
Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago. You must see that without evidence, it's nothing more than a wild accusation.
As it happens, I have evidence.
What?
As the court has heard, I crossed this channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku. My true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth.
What truth?
The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what I already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago.
What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret.
While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was.
Right, I see. You're that Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing, is that it?
That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth, that's all.
Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick.
So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated.
It was for the good old country. Anyway, I was just following orders.
Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak.
I'm not saying another word.
Even if your life depends on it?
That's right. Even then.
Oof.
And you use your sword to cut the trunk in anger. So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
If the results of Clint Van Zig's autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer, Gregson, and the lead coroner, Wilson, must have known about it. And it can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barak Van Zix. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly, and as it was established earlier,
It has to have been the Reaper himself who lies with Jukoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. Ah. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of that man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Baron van Zix.
Objection!
Kazuma Sogi. What? What I have just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. A shameful admission. In that case, I know the name of the Reaper. What? What? Lord Van Zix? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. Oh no, what are you going to accuse? If Lord Van Zix isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. You. I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. Are we going to accuse someone who in the courtroom right now? The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... I don't think it's this guy. Yep, I certainly don't think it's this guy. I'm gonna say it's this guy. The judge himself. Who gave the order? This dude, right? I'm gonna try. You know, it's just losing one life. You know.
Take that!
Oh, I'm correct. Oh boy, man, this is interesting. The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mail Strongheart. What? Lord Strongheart? Yes, unbelievable. But you know, it's the only other person that has a motive. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago, the defendant handled the prosecution of the prosecutor, Professor, in court. But he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zix, had been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Yep. The legal system in this world, in this game, is a joke. Well, Lord Van Zix, 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession. I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, supplication of the Lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined. All the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seishiro Jukoku. Lord Strongheart, Everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey.
Now, how are we going to do this?
The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best.
You're not going to defend yourself?
You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Ziek's autopsy? That's utterly untrue.
Objection!
But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted it to it. Where's your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. You mean to say, if I forget how the systems work in your little backwaters country, but in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone but or anything. Ugh. Order in court. Following Inspector Gregson's murder, in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about events of 10 years ago, is there?
Oh, you're very, very cunning, Lord Strongheart.
So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange. This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accuser brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied.
Yes, it's the judge. How can you do anything?
I take it there are no objections.
Kazuma has more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Ziek's autopsy. There is someone, right? I think there is someone. I'm thinking of someone, but I'm not sure. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Sith won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope.
Objection!
Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about that autopsy.
Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left.
Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, Please, this trial can't end. Not yet. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Ziek is... I'm going to say... Maria Gori? either Maria Gori. I have 3 people in mind. Maria Gori, Barry Caden, Daily Vigil, no. Or Seishiro Jikoku. I don't think this or this is going to help. So, not going to waste people's time. I'm going to look at the answer, alright? Oh, okay, I was wrong. All this was wrong. Now I'm gonna sound like I was lying, but I was thinking of... Yes, Mikotoba. I was thinking of Mikotoba. Yep, no one's gonna believe me. Oh, else.
Take that!
Heaven help us, another Japanese. An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Eugene Mikotoba, 16 years ago. He came to London with Seishiro Jikoku and Genjin Asogi as a visiting student. What could his testimony possibly tell us? Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report. Oh yeah! I forgot. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature. It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Mikotoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. The defense demand is denied. What? But Professor Mikotoba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes. No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Stronghead has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecutor's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence, but that's exactly why we need witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Ugh. Personal insult. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances, they may exist. They will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities. Oh, hey Nebo! Where are this? What are the unicorn hammer? Dang, I'm so lost. Well, it's okay, Nebo. It's gonna end soon. It's gonna end soon. All will be well. All will be explained in the end. But we all know what will happen. They'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to uncover his tracks again. By which you mean me. Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. Ugh. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. Oh. Great voice acting, eh?
That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be...
Ooh. Sherlock Holmes? I guessed it.
Mr. Sholmes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the court at once.
Objection.
Mr. Sholmes is instrumental in the apprehension of Seishio Jikoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say.
Lord Mayor Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the provocations of your superiors? Order in court. It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices, a door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of Reaper's decade-long ascendancy, while you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence.
He's right. The judge has absolutely almost right here.
Yes, he has called the trial to an end. It must end. But will that really do? I sense the dark occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed.
There is a single person here present with a... What's... The trial should get on. Shaman the witnesses.
That's right. We need to clear this up before young Japanese fellow is remanded in custody.
My lord, your short source present you uncover the truth. Vindicate yourself on outlandish accusation. The truth, truth. No, nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law.
A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery.
Testify! 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 Man, this is getting really outrageous.
Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice. I take it. I think you find it will be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I've tried to kill Ikotoba myself. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Ikotoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Mikotaba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I was just asking for the fun of it, you know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However,
You are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you. Absolutely. It's still in my pocket. She sends her regards and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. So it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me? I wonder. Just how deep am I about to plunge into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Uh-oh. Oh, am I going to do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And yes, this will be the end of today's session. I have no idea if anyone's really like tense. What's the phrase? Grabbing their seats or something like that, knowing what's going to happen next. But yes, we'll be stopping. we'll be stopping now on this part. Okay. And yeah, we'll be continuing this final part of the story of the entire game next week. So thank you so much for watching. If anyone is still here, I hope you enjoyed this stream. It's been quite a experience, and man, I feel like once I finish this game, it's like I'm going to be like, what's my life? But then again, then I think about, oh my goodness, there's so many other good games I want to play. I can't wait to finish this game. I can't wait to finish this game. So yes, thank you again. Thank you. It's been a pleasure doing this game, right? I had a lot of fun doing all the voices. I had a lot of fun witnessing all these shenanigans in court. So it's gonna be a shame. It's gonna be sad when it ends. Anyhow, as always, whenever I end my streams, I'm going to be rating someone now. Drilling in the background, I say yes. Oh no, people can hear it. People can hear it. Oh yeah. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the VOD is gonna have drilling sounds. But yes, I'm going to stop the recording now, and then I'll move on to rating someone. So, for those that are watching in the past through my VODs, thank you for watching. So we'll see each other next time. Bye bye.